Okay, so I started by asking you, were you happy or sad about it when you actually decided you were going to come to this country?
I was very happy
Yeah.
because we had made several trips to the consulate and they sent me back because they thought my eyes were, I was sick with my eyes and they were contagious. So they sent us back about 3 times until my father decided to go to the consulate and tell them that I had conjunctivitis, it was not contagious, and for them to check me again. So they did call me. I did go with my mother, and they told me that it was all right, that they would let me come to this country.
So this was an ongoing process. I mean, you guys went back many times.
Yes, we went back about 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then how old were you then?
By that time, by the time they said yes, I could go, I was 8 years old.
Right. And how old was Auntie Rose?
Auntie Rose was 9.
And my father was?
He was 5, I think.
Yeah.
4 or 5.
Yeah. Okay, so, and of course Uncle Jimmy wasn't
Uncle Jimmy
yet.
was not born.
Yeah. All right, so you were 8, and then do you remember the whole process of going to get on the ship and all that?
Yes, I do. We had to go to Naples to get the ship. We got on board the Augustus. It took us 11 days to get to this country,
Wow.
New York. We finally landed in New York, and we expected to see my father. It was nighttime, and so it was still like, so my mother asked a gentleman to call out and see if Francesco Saccia was down there. So he hollered, and my father heard him, and he started waving. But we couldn't get off the ship because they weren't going to let us off until the next day.
Oh.
So the next morning, we all went through the procedure of getting off the ship, and we got off the ship, and we looked for my father, and he was not there. We couldn't find him.
Yeah.
Well, they put us in a taxi cab, and they were going to take us to Ellis Island. But as soon as we exited the place that we're in, my father saw us in the cab, and he started running after the cab. The cab driver saw him, and he stopped. And my father said, "My family is there." And the cab driver told us to get out. He took the tags off of us, and he told my father, "Here, they're yours." So I always remember that.
Yeah.
And so we went with my father, and we went to have breakfast or whatever it was, but we went to eat something.
Oh, you must have
And
been
then
so
when
happy.
the time came for the train, we took the train, and we came to Boston. And my father had rented a 3-room house, so we all went there in Boston, in the West End.
So you took a train from New York to
From
Boston?
New York to Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how that was a short ride compared to the boat ride.
Right.
Right.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the boat ride was 11 days,
Yeah.
whereas the train ride was only a few hours.
Yeah.
And when we got to Boston, we took a cab, and we went to the apartment.
All right. So tell me about your trip on the boat. It was 11 days. What did you do?
The trip on the boat was horrible. It was bad weather. It was the winter time because we left Italy in January, right after New Year's, and it was very bad weather. And my mother was sick on the boat, and she was on her berth all the time.
Like seasick, you mean?
Seasick, yeah.
Yeah.
My sister and I were not. My brother was. So my sister and I would go roaming around. My mother went crazy because we roamed around the ship.
Yeah.
But it took 11 days on that ship to come home, to come to Boston.
So you had your own cabin on the
Yeah,
ship,
we
right?
we came third class. We had a cabin. It was my mother, my brother Joe, my sister, and I, and there was another woman on the cabin. So it was kind of crowded.
Yeah.
But we came, we came there. And like I said, we landed, I said, we didn't land in Boston. We landed in New York.
Right.
And then we took the train to Boston.
So I'm more interested about the ride on the boat, though. You were 8 years old. Auntie Rose was a couple of years younger. My
She
father.
was 13 months younger than me.
Yeah. Okay. So you're very close in age.
Yeah.
What do two little girls do on a boat like that for 2 weeks almost?
Well, we just walked around, and when my mother felt well, she did get up when it was dinner time to go to the dining room, and we all sat at the table, and then it was I think it was New Year's Day on the boat on the ship, if I remember correctly. And they had like a celebration, and we went there to the auditorium on the ship, and they played the piano, and people were singing. But on the whole, we just would walk around
Yeah.
the ship, my sister and I.
No cell phones, no computers.
No, nothing. Nothing at all.
Yeah, no games.
No entertainment, no
No.
games, no nothing.
Yeah,
It was a long trip.
yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That was it.
Take a break right there. The boat ride was 11 days. Mm-hmm. You had the ordeal with trying to find your father at night. They made you wait till the next day. Mm-hmm. You had to take a taxi. You thought you were going to Ellis Island, but he saw you, and he said, "Stop, that's my family."
Yeah.
They let you out, and then you took a train from New York to Boston.
Yeah.
And he had already rented a place, right?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me about that place. Where was it? Do you remember?
It was in the west end of Boston. It was in Pitt Street in Boston.
Pitt Street.
There was only 3 rooms. My sister and I and Joe were in one room. My mother and father were in the other room. And then there was the kitchen. And that was it.
Yeah.
And we were there for a while.
What floor was it?
Huh?
What floor?
It was on the 3rd floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And eventually, there was a 4-room apartment available. So we moved into the 4 rooms where my sister and I had a room, my brothers, both of them, because in the meantime, I forgot, my mother got pregnant,
Oh.
and she had Jimmy, and as Jimmy grew older, he went in the same room with my brother Joe.
Yeah.
So
So that 4-room apartment was in the same building, though?
yes, it was in the same building.
So you just had to take your stuff out of one place and move it to the other?
Yeah, right.
All right. So how old were you about that time when Uncle Jimmy
Well,
was born?
When Uncle Jimmy was born, let's see, he was born in 1931. 8, oh God, it's so hard to remember. I was about, how old was I? I think I was about 10
Yeah.
when Jimmy was born.
So it was only a couple of years then?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you were in that apartment for a couple of years, then you moved to the 4-room place around that time.
Yeah.
Okay, then now that was on Pitt Street,
Yeah.
right? Now I know you lived in other places in the West End, right?
Oh, in Allen Street in the West End.
Okay, so what was next after Pitt Street? Where did you go?
Well, after Pitt Street, there was an apartment available. I don't remember what year it was, but there was an apartment available, 6 rooms on Allen Street, still in the West End.
Yeah.
And so we moved there. And I got married from there. So we lived there quite a while.
And this was 6 rooms?
6 rooms, yeah.
Wow. So now you were stretching out in luxury now compared to...
Oh, yeah. We had the kitchen, the dining room. We each had, my sister and I had a bedroom.
Yeah.
My brothers had a bedroom. My mother and father had a bedroom. We had a living room. So it was like living in luxury.
Yeah, compared to Pitt Street, right?
Right.
Okay, so now you mentioned that you got married from there, but what happened? What year did you get married?
I got married in 1948.
Okay, so that was after the war.
Yeah.
All right. So in the meantime, the war came along, and I know that my father joined up. He went into the Coast Guard. So that was that from Allen Street too?
Yes.
Okay, so he was living at Allen Street at the time when the war started, and then he went into the service and stayed until 1945 when he came home to that same address. Then, right?
Right.
Right. Okay, and that was in 45. You got married in 48.
Yeah.
Just a few years later. All right. So were you the first one to leave the nest?
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
I was the first one to get married. In fact, when I met Al, he was out of the service too. He had been in the Army.
Yeah.
And when we decided to get married, we were going to go on the honeymoon. And we asked Joe. Joe had bought a car, so we asked Joe if we could borrow his car to go on the honeymoon.
Yeah.
And he said yes, and we took it on a honeymoon.
Yeah. Where did you go?
We went to New York.
Wow.
We went to Pennsylvania. Then we came back, and we went to New York again, and then we came home.
Nice.
Yeah.
So do you remember what kind of car it was?
Yeah, it was, I can't remember what you call it. It wasn't a big car, it was a small car.
Yeah.
It was a 2-seater.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But it wasn't convertible.
No.
No.
But just room enough for the 2 years.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. What a generous brother you had. Huh?
I did. I really thought it was very nice of him.
Yeah.
To let us borrow it.
Okay. So you came back from that honeymoon. Where did you live when you first got married?
We lived with my mother and father on Allen Street for a little while until we found an apartment in Pitt Street where we used to live before.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we lived there for a while.
Was Uncle Al from the West End too?
No, Uncle Al was from Hyde Park.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just met him through friends of ours.
Yeah. Okay, so you got an apartment on Pitt Street.
Yeah.
And this was, but you stayed on Allen Street for a little while, then you moved out and got your own place.
Right.
Okay, let's stop right there for a minute. Okay, so
what do you want to know?
when we left off, you were just married, and not just married, but you had been married for a little while. You were living on Allen Street, and then you and Uncle Al moved out and got your own place on Pitt Street.
Pitt Street, yeah.
Okay, so how long did you stay there?
Oh, let's see now. We stayed there about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah?
Yeah. Let's see now. I had Chris right after we moved because I was pregnant, and I had Chris.
So was Chris born while you were living on Allen Street or not?
No, Chris was born when I lived on Pitt Street.
On Pitt Street, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And then Chris was about 5 years old when I had Leanne.
Yeah.
And we were still in Pitt Street.
Yeah.
And shortly after that, we decided to look for a house, and we found the house in Holbrook. So we moved to Holbrook.
Yeah.
And we lived in Holbrook. Kids grew up there. They went to school there. And we lived there until we sold the house.
Nice.
I didn't sell the house until after Al died.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the whole story.
That's the whole story. Now we finally did it.
Okay.
Been talking about doing this for so many years, and we finally did it.
Oh,
Now I got it. All right. Thanks,
well,
Auntie.
you got most of it.
Yeah.
Probably.